dreaming a new horizon, and a day it all came true. Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Home sweet home, oh home sweet home, home sweet home.
You're tuned to Russ McClellan and Friends on the real estate show Home Sweet Home. Let's get back to Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. This is our third segment. We've been on the air working together with Fletcher Ellingson, Coach Fletcher Ellingson, also a good friend of mine, on the art of feeling good. He's a coach. He's the kind of person that I will tell you this. You're missing out on something in your life if you don't call Fletcher Ellingson. Right? Like there's ice cream, there's carnival rides, there's love, then there's Fletcher Ellingson, right? You're right up in there. And his number is 679-0927. That'd be in the area code 509. Now we've merged calls with one other person who's a pretty special friend of mine, seeing how she's my fiance. Wham. There you go. Ottie Holcomb. Welcome to the call.
Well, thank you for having me, Mr. Russ.
Sounds so important when you say it like that. Can we do that more? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So you know why Ottie's on the call is because, A, she could probably talk about what it's like trying to live with me, which is unique in itself. But most importantly, she is now also coaching individually with Fletcher Ellingson. And so I thought it would be kind of interesting, especially in these times where we've been indoors together with our significant others, probably more than we've ever been before. And that might cause some issues, or in our case, it might cause some beautiful things to happen. And we're trying to be real proactive in coaching as individuals and working together on relationship issues or just the art of feeling good. And so, Fletcher, could you kind of talk with Ottie about the whole thing that you're doing and why you're doing it? And then maybe I'd love to just share with our listeners why you're in coaching and how you're feeling about it, et cetera.
So one of the things I'm so delighted that you guys are both doing the coaching because, as I mentioned to Ottie, sometimes one person in a relationship will go through the coaching program and they begin to expand. They begin to see things newly about themselves, about the other person, about the relationship, and they get this enthusiasm and they're like, oh my gosh, can my husband sit in on this? Or can you work with my wife? Can you work with my partner? And I love that that's kind of what's going on for you two, because when you guys get the same language and begin to expand together, emotionally and knowledge-wise, things begin to shift in your relationship. And what happens is what was not previously possible becomes possible now because of the work that you're doing. Like you create space for these new elements to grow and nurture your relationships. It's very exciting.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about life is when you're honest, good things start to happen, right? When you're vulnerable and you're authentic and you're not afraid to put yourself out there, because if you're feeling a certain way, and let's face it, it's not always easy, right? But if you don't say anything, that's
right.
When resentment builds and frustration builds and all those things that you focus on expand. And, Ottie, I love you, but I love you for a lot of reasons. And one of them is you're not afraid. You're not afraid to dive in. And we talked about this where if you're feeling a certain way, guess what? I bet our listeners are feeling a certain way too. So maybe you could, maybe just talk about with some vulnerability why you're coaching with Fletcher.
How much time do we have? Because I have a long list of vulnerabilities.
That's funny.
I have been in college at Washington State University for the past 5 years, and I'm coming up on my graduation date, which is in 3 weeks' time. I'm unbelievably excited and also really quite terrified that it's time to join the real world again. I feel like as an adult student, I've had such a unique experience, not only in, going back to school and living with 20-year-olds and doing all of those things, but also being able to check out of real life, kind of, the daily grind and focus on something else for 5 years. And so that's coming to a close. And unfortunately, I'm going to be hitting the job market right in the middle of this COVID pandemic, which means that opportunities that I would potentially have they might be shelved right now. They might be put off for the future. And so my scope is a little bit less than I want it to be. And in addition to that, I have spent a lot of time in the last few years trying to just be a better version of myself. And I have learned all the things like, meditate and keep a journal and go for walks when I'm stressed. And what I'm finding is that I'm amassing a lot of information, and then I'm really, I'm kind of hitting an interruption when it's time to practice those things. And so, Russ, you and I sat down and we chatted about what a good solution would be for me, because I was thinking that maybe it was counseling. And what we came out of that is counseling is probably going to teach me a lot of the behaviors that I already know how to do. What I need to learn is how to change my habits, how to interrupt the pattern or the program that my brain already has to do the things that I know that I want to do to enable me to be more successful. So it's impossible to be around Russ without hearing about how great Fletcher is. And so we decided as a team that Fletcher was probably the best answer for me. So here I am. I just had my first coaching session a few days ago.
Fletcher, what do you think about what she just said?
Yeah, I think this is very common to a lot of people who are in the middle of transition or have a transition on the horizon, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. And with uncertainty, there comes a lot of insecurity, and nothing good, bad, right, or wrong about that. But we become practiced at feeling insecure. We become practiced at feeling uncertain. And I love what Ottie said is, she's amassed a lot of knowledge, and she wants to be a better version of herself, and is recognizing that when it comes to implementation and being able to sustain those empowering behaviors, that's where she's seeing like a drop off. And so we're closing the gap there. We're going to really begin to, like she said, interrupt those patterns. We're going to just T-bone them, interrupt them so they can't be as effective. And in the process we're also going to be setting up new programs. And that's the really exciting thing. We're going to set up new neural pathways that are in her brain and that become the default. They become the superhighways in her brain that she starts using, and therefore will get dramatically different results.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that at the end of the day, these limiting beliefs and insecurities that we have basically hold us back so automatically that we don't even know it's happening. It's that old saying, it's like you're losing so slow you think you're winning, right? But you're not. And I am so focused on trying to help project positivity that when Ottie said she was going to step up and then do it and take action, I was like, man, that is so admirable. And it's exactly one of the million reasons that I love you so much, Ottie. But it's so fun to watch the transformation, with someone that you care about, and then to support them. Because often, sadly, it's our loved ones that hold us back because they don't want you to dream big. They don't want you to have big goals and take action to turn those goals into reality because they want you to be protected, right? So sometimes you just got to kick in that door of insecurity and just go for it, right? Because when you look back, when you're 85, 90, 95 years old, you know what? You don't want to say, wish I would have, could have, and have regret. That's no fun. And so just, Ottie, so far, one session, what do you think you've got out of it? We got a couple more minutes in the segment, but thank you for coming on. I love you for this and so many other things.
Well, I love you right back. And I think you probably can attest to what I got out of my first coaching session, because I walk around talking about how everything feels good all of a sudden.
It's awesome, man. It's so awesome.
This fire is so nice and warm. It feels so good. And I love having the dogs running around my feet. That's so good. And I did some yoga this morning. So that is the first thing that I got out, was just practicing recognizing when things feel good, because they do a lot. And I think it's really easy to get bogged down on what's going poorly. And so when you flip your mindset and start thinking about what's going well, what feels good, it's impossible not to walk around with a better attitude.
Yeah, guys.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. That is wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We're coming to the end of this segment, and Fletcher, thank you for having the courage to get on the air with me, for goodness sakes.
You bet.
So I appreciate you,
it.
Ottie. Congratulations, Ottie. You remember what I said to you about 5 years ago about going to college?
You said, how old are you going to be in 5 more years?
When you still want to go to college. Bam! You took action, and lo and behold.
Yep, and here I am.
There you are. Time flies. All right, guys. Well, have a great day. Ottie, I'll see you later today. And thank you so much for being on the air with Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends. You two are obviously two of my closest.
It was a pleasure.
Take care.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true.